Here we have verse 32 of the 12th chapter, Gospel of John. Jesus has just mentioned that as a result of the work that he's going to perform, the prince of this world is going to be cast out. There's a whole lot of interesting background to that, but of course the particular concern that is before us here is that Jesus is looking forward to his atoning work, his crucifixion and resurrection, which seems to be the theme, the thread, in that is picked up now as we come to verse 32, in which he says, kago. This is a combination of kai and ego. So, and I, it's commonly used, kind of a contraction of those two words, and I. Ian means if, takes the subjunctive, which is what we have here. So, hupsotho, this is from hupsoo, which means to lift up, simply. It's a simple enough word. To be lifted up is the idea. This is the first-person singular aorist passive subjunctive, going along with ian. So if I be lifted up is the idea. If I am lifted up, the passive voice there. Particularly referring to the crucifixion, undoubtedly. Some have tried to tie it maybe to the ascension, the resurrection, but it seems most natural to connect it to the crucifixion of Christ, in which he's lifted up, of course, on the cross. And it seems that what he goes ahead and says later will bear that out. Ek preposition takes the genitive tes, the genitive singular feminine article, ek tes geis, and then geis from the word ge, which means earth or land is the idea. Geo, we get that word in English from that. So if I be lifted up from the land, from the earth, which is certainly descriptive of what happened in crucifixion, then pantos. Pantos, this is the adjective, it means all. This is the masculine plural accusative. It's the direct object of the verb here. So all men or all people is the idea. Helkuso, this is from helkuo, which means to draw. That's the way it's translated, although it's fundamentally a word that means to drag. In other words, it doesn't really speak of a kind of drawing someone as in persuading them gently, that idea, which is the way it's often viewed. But it's a word that actually means to drag, implying against the will of the one being drug. It's sometimes used to describe drawing water out of a well, which obviously the water isn't helping much in that case, to draw a sword out of a sheath, which also is a case in which it's unilateral motion, but maybe most graphically it's used to describe dragging someone off to prison. And in that connection, all of the uses of it really suggest a kind of involuntary drawing of someone, dragging of someone. And it's an interesting word to use here. It's the same word that was used back in John 6:44. No one can come to me unless the Father drags him. You may recall our treatment of that some time back. So I will draw, the future here, all men, the direct object, pros, emphatic, not using the dative simply, but more of an action kind of idea. The preposition pros takes the accusative, and emauton, the reflexive pronoun, to myself. So if I be lifted up from the earth, I'm going to draw all, meaning all kinds of people, to myself. And that, of course, is now finally getting back to the question that was put to Jesus, which precipitated this whole conversation, in which certain Greek people had sought to speak with Jesus. And Jesus, in a sense, is saying that not only these Greeks, but people from all over the world, all kinds of people, all ethnicities, of all descriptions, of course, are going to be drawn to this one who was going to be lifted up from the earth.